He stood in his quiet kitchen. Morning light is pouring through the blinds. No perfume in the air. No second coffee mug. No calendar filled with someone else's plans. Just silence. The kind that used to sting. But now, it calms him. He doesn't wonder who's texting. Doesn't explain where he's going. Doesn't ask for permission to simply be himself. And maybe that's what real freedom feels like after 50. If you've ever looked around your quiet house and asked, am I alone or am I finally at peace? Stay with me. Because what follows are 18 quiet, powerful truths about men who live alone. Not because they gave up, but because they woke up. 1. Divorce doesn't just hurt, it breaks a man. He remembers signing the papers. But it wasn't just the divorce itself, it was everything tied to it. The house he helped build, split. The retirement account he sacrificed for, halved. The years of loyalty, effort, and quiet compromises reduced to courtrooms, deadlines, and legal fees. But the deeper loss? It wasn't the marriage. It was the version of himself that believed love meant endurance, that if he just gave more, waited longer, bent further, it would work. No one warned him that the cost of staying would be greater than the pain of leaving, that giving everything might leave him with nothing. So when people ask, why are you alone now? He doesn't say he's afraid of intimacy. He says, I'm not afraid to be alone. I'm afraid of giving everything again, and watching it burn anyway. Because once you've been broken like that, you stop fearing solitude, and start fearing self-betrayal. 2. He's not chasing a wife, he's avoiding the performance. There was a time he dated for connection. Now, it feels like auditioning for approval. He shows up steady, sincere, intentional. But across the table, it feels scripted. The smiles come easily, the compliments rehearsed. Everything is beautiful until commitment enters the room. Then the mask slips. The warmth becomes calculation. The gentleness replaced by control. He's not bitter. He's observant. Because when you've seen the shift too many times, you learn to recognize it early. He doesn't want to perform. He doesn't want to keep proving his worth to someone who only saw the surface. He wants presence, stillness, a connection that isn't built on pleasing but understanding. So he stopped chasing, not because he's given up on love, but because he's done with roles, rehearsals, and reward-based affection. He wants real, or nothing at all. 3. He chooses peace over problems. His home is quiet now. No more slammed doors. No more walking on eggshells. No more tension in the air he breathes. He makes his coffee without commentary. He reads without interruption. And when he closes his eyes at night, it's silence that tucks him in, not resentment. It wasn't always this way. He used to trade peace for companionship. He thought the arguments were normal, the emotional swings, just part of love. But over time, something changed. He realized peace wasn't boring. It was sacred. That calm was not a void, but a homecoming. Now, when chaos knocks, even in the shape of beauty or charm, he doesn't open the door. Because once a man learns the value of quiet, once he sees how much he can think, grow, and breathe in that stillness, the price of turbulence becomes too high. He's not hiding from love. He's protecting his oxygen. And for him, that matters more. 4. He's tired of the cycle. Flirt, date, bond, shift. It's not just a pattern anymore, it's a warning sign. She starts off soft, inviting. Conversations flow. Laughter is easy. There's even a quiet hope in him that maybe, this time, it's different. But then, it turns. The tone shifts. The questions become tests. The warmth turns into withdrawal. Suddenly, he's defending himself over small things, over words he didn't say, emotions he didn't provoke. He's no longer in a partnership. He's in a courtroom. And the worst part? He's seen this before too many times. So now, he walks early. Not out of fear. Not because he doesn't want connection, but because he recognizes the signs, the subtle cues, the way emotional chaos hides behind initial charm. He doesn't wait for the storm to hit. He leaves when the clouds form, because healing taught him this. It's better to walk away with peace than stay and lose yourself again. 5. He feels like who he is isn't welcome anymore. Strong, structured, stoic. He was raised to be these things, taught that a man should protect without panic, provide without praise, and lead without loudness. But now, The world seems to resent it. His strength is labeled cold. His boundaries? Controlling. His calm silence? Emotionally unavailable. It confuses him not because he refuses to grow, but because the values he built his life on are now seen as flaws. He's being asked to shrink, to soften, to apologize for being steady. And that's not growth. That's erasure. He's not against change. He believes in evolution, in men learning to listen, to feel, to grow. But he won't distort himself. He won't trade his core for applause. Because what's the point of being in a relationship where your essence is a problem? So if the world can't honor the kind of man he is, he'll stay alone. Not as a protest, but as protection, where he can be fully himself. And that, finally, feels like home. 6. He's looking for a teammate, not a rival. He's competed his whole life. In boardrooms, on ball fields, even in the mirror, pushing himself to be better, stronger, faster. So the last thing he wants now is to come home and fight another battle. He's not afraid of strong women. In fact, he admires them. What he's tired of is power struggles disguised as partnership. He's exhausted from conversations that feel like negotiations, from making every small decision a debate, from constantly having to explain, defend, justify. At this stage in life, he's not looking for fireworks. He's looking for flow. 2 people, 1 direction, no scorekeeping, no need to win. He wants a teammate, someone who knows that love is a dance, not a duel. That leadership isn't dominance, and equality isn't competition. And if that's too much to ask, he'll keep walking alone. Because peace, stillness, support, these aren't luxuries anymore. They're non-negotiables. 7. He's done with one-sided relationships. He spent years following the script. Happy wife, happy life. So he tried. He said yes when he wanted to say no. He silenced himself to keep the peace. He gave more, until there was nothing left to give. But the peace never came. Only pressure, and slowly, without warning, had disappeared. Not to her, but to himself. He forgot what he liked, what he needed, what he dreamed of, because everything revolved around her comfort, her mood, her validation. Now, he doesn't blame her, but he won't repeat the pattern, because love isn't self-erasure. Love isn't about making yourself small so someone else can shine. Real love, the kind he's willing to wait for, holds both hearts with equal care. It doesn't demand silence. It invites truth. So if the connection feels lopsided, he leaves. Not in anger, but in wisdom. 8. He finally sees his own worth. For decades, he believed love had to be earned, that if he just worked harder, loved deeper, stayed longer, she would see him, appreciate him, choose him fully. But it never happened, and somewhere after 50, something inside him shifted. He stopped chasing validation, stopped measuring his value by someone else's attention, stopped bending to fit into someone else's mold of a good man. Now, he walks differently, talks more slowly, carries himself with quiet certainty, not arrogance, but rooted self-respect. He's not loud, he's not boastful, but his presence says, I know who I am, and if that's not enough for you, I'm okay walking away, because a man who knows his worth doesn't beg for belonging. He creates it in his space, his habits, his solitude. And that shift, it changes everything. 9. He's seeking purpose, not just a pretty face. She used to turn heads, and so did he. But beauty, he's learned, doesn't equal peace. He's had beautiful chaos, beautiful drama, beautiful heartbreak. Now, he wants something deeper. He wants a woman who brings direction, not just desire. Someone who builds, not just attracts. Who has her own sense of mission and wants to share it, not abandon his. Because purpose excites him now more than perfection. Substance matters more than style. He doesn't need admiration. He needs alignment. Because a pretty face fades, but a shared vision, that's the kind of intimacy that lasts. So when he meets someone new, he looks past the surface, listens for values, watches for how she treats others, asks himself not, do I desire her? But, can I trust her to walk beside me, not ahead, not behind, but with? If not, he'll keep walking his own path, purposefully, proudly, alone, if necessary, but never aimless. 10. If she doesn't match his standards, he'll stay alone. There was a time when he compromised, when he overlooked the red flags, shrugged off the tension, convinced himself that no one's perfect, zero. But now, he knows the cost of ignoring misalignment. It starts with a small irritation, then grows into daily exhaustion. Soon, his peace is replaced by confusion, and his home feels more like a battlefield than a refuge. So now he's clear. If she brings chaos into his calm, if her presence creates tension instead of trust, if she needs to be constantly managed, explained, or rescued, he walks. Not rudely, not dramatically, just quietly, because he no longer sacrifices his peace for potential. He doesn't argue. He doesn't fix. He simply observes, and if it doesn't feel aligned, he stays alone, because alone with clarity is better than together in confusion. 11. He's found more peace alone than in most relationships. It surprised him at first. The silence, the stillness, the absence of someone asking, needing, demanding. At first, it felt unfamiliar, maybe even lonely. But then he noticed the quiet wasn't empty. It was full of thought, full of breath, full of time. He could reflect without interruption, cook without critique, sleep without emotional weight pressing on his chest. No arguments, no tension, no guilt-laced glances across the dinner table, just peace. And that peace began to grow. It filled his mornings, softened his evenings, and reminded him of who he is outside of someone else's expectations. Now, he protects that peace like a priceless treasure. Because once you've lived in emotional warfare, solitude feels like safety, and safety feels like freedom. 12. Wisdom changed how he loves. In his younger years, he rushed into attraction, into connection, into hope. He wanted to believe in the one, wanted the fairy tale, even believed that love could fix broken people, or worse, that he could. But now, he's wiser, and wisdom slowed him down. He no longer gets swept up in chemistry. He pays attention to consistency. He watches how she responds when she doesn't get her way. He notices how she talks about others and how she talks to herself. He's not jaded. He's just aware. Because love, real love, isn't about being swept off your feet. It's about standing firmly beside someone, even when life shakes. And if she's not emotionally grounded, if she confuses attention with affection, if she's looking for rescue instead of responsibility, he lets her go. Not because he doesn't care, but because he's learned it's better to be alone with peace than together with pain masquerading as passion. 13. He's no longer confused by mixed signals. There was a time when he tried to decode every look, every pause, every silence. He'd ask himself, did I say something wrong? Is she okay? What does she really mean? He overanalyzed, overcompensated, overgave. But now he sees clearly. If someone likes you, they show up. If someone respects you, they speak directly. If someone values you, they don't leave you guessing. He doesn't waste energy interpreting half-effort anymore. Doesn't make excuses for inconsistent affection. Doesn't convince himself to stay where he feels confused. Because love, real love, doesn't feel like a riddle. It feels like relief. So if her actions don't match her words, if her interest fluctuates with her mood, if the relationship feels like an emotional roller coaster, he steps off. Not with drama, just with dignity. Because a mature man doesn't chase validation. He listens to clarity. And if clarity isn't there, he chooses peace instead. 14. He's seen what happens when he ignores his gut. There were signs, always signs. That tightness in his chest, the quiet anxiety after a conversation, the moments when her words didn't sit right. But he told himself he was overthinking. He wasn't. He was ignoring his gut. He wanted to be understanding. Didn't want to judge too quickly. Tried to see the best in her, even when she showed the worst. But experience taught him something valuable. Your gut knows. It sees what charm can cover. It senses what words try to deny. And every time he ignored it, he paid for it. Emotionally, mentally, sometimes even financially. Now, he listens early, listens closely. And if something feels off, he doesn't argue with himself. Because maturity means trusting your own knowing. And if a woman makes him feel uneasy, unclear, unworthy, he doesn't wait for proof. He moves on. Because your intuition isn't paranoia, it's protection. 15. He's not waiting, he's living. People assume he's lonely, that he's just between relationships, waiting for someone to show up and make life meaningful again. They're wrong. He's not waiting. He's building, living, becoming. He's filling his days with books, walks, passion projects, taking care of his health, calling old friends, learning to cook, sleeping peacefully. He's not stuck in the past, and he's not fantasizing about the future. He's here, in this moment, content. And if someone comes along who matches that energy, who adds peace instead of distraction, who joins, not interrupts, the life he's built, beautiful. But if not, he's okay, because he's not half a person searching for completion. He's whole, and this life even lived alone is enough. Not lonely, not lacking, not lost, just living, fully. Finally, 16. He's not cold, he's just careful. Some say he's guarded, too quiet, hard to reach, but they don't see what he's seen. They don't know the betrayal behind the boundaries, the pain behind the pause. He used to be open, gave his heart freely, believed people meant what they said and felt what they showed. But life taught him differently. He was left mid-sentence, lied to without apology, used for stability, then discarded when the thrill wore off. So now he's not angry. He's alert, not bitter, but boundaried, not shut down, just selective. It's not that he doesn't feel. He just doesn't expose those feelings to people who haven't earned them. Because emotional safety for a man isn't about never feeling pain. It's about knowing when to protect your soul from repeating it. And if that looks cold from the outside, so be it. He calls it wisdom, save and tame. He doesn't need attention, he craves respect. He's not posting thirst traps, not chasing likes, not seeking applause. That phase is long gone. What he wants now is not attention but respect, not flattery but truth, not fireworks but consistency. He doesn't care if she thinks he's charming. He cares if she honors his time, listens when he speaks, keeps her word. Because admiration fades, but respect, that's the foundation, that's the fuel of something lasting. He knows now, it's better to be unseen and at peace than admired and emotionally starved. So he chooses slowly, not based on attraction alone, but on alignment. And if that respect isn't there, he doesn't fight for it. He steps away quietly, firmly. Finally, 18. He's not lonely, he's free. The world doesn't understand a man who chooses solitude. They assume something's missing, that he's broken, that no one wanted him. They're wrong. He's not lonely. He's free. Free from performance, from emotional unpredictability, from roles he never chose and expectations he never agreed to. He wakes when he wants, eats when he's hungry, speaks only when words are needed, and listens, truly listens to the silence. That silence doesn't judge, doesn't manipulate, doesn't demand. It holds him, calms him, reminds him that his worth was never about being chosen. It was about choosing himself. And now, he finally has. So if you see a man over 50, sitting alone at a cafe, walking by himself at dusk, cooking dinner in a quiet house with jazz humming low in the background, don't pity him. Don't assume he's lonely. Don't label him damaged. Because you might just be witnessing something rare. A man who survived disappointment and chose not to let it define him. A man who no longer chases affection because he carries peace in his chest. A man who doesn't ask to be seen because he sees himself clearly now. He's not afraid of love. He's just done calling chaos romance, done playing roles for comfort, done giving his soul away to be enough. So he lives quietly, deliberately, fully, and in that quiet, he's not waiting, he's not wishing, he's free. And maybe, just maybe, he's one of the lucky ones. If you've ever felt this shift, if solitude ever brought you more peace than people did, share your story in the comments. You're not alone. You're just finally home.